Hello everyone. Uh, I hope you all are doing good. In today's lecture, we will discuss the arrays, and the contents would be the fundamentals of array. Then array is class member data and array of objects. So these are the three things that we would cover in this lecture. The lecture would be divided into multiple parts. Maybe the first part would be about the array fundamentals. The next part would be about the arrays as class member data, and then the last part would be about the arrays of objects. Let me briefly tell you that array fundamentals, in which we will discuss how to declare an array, how to initialize an array, the one-dimensional array, two-dimensional arrays, multi-dimensional arrays. In the arrays as class member data, we would see that how we can, for example, as we discussed in the previous lecture, that we have in a class we have data items and member functions. So the data item can be declared as an array. So we would see how we can do this thing. So the member data would be in the form of an array, and we would use the stake as an example to see how we can declare the array as class member data. And lastly, we would see that say an instance of a class, if you make an object, we will discuss this thing in the last few lectures. In today's lecture, we would say that we can have an array of objects rather than just say object 1, object 2 of class of type class. So we would declare an array of objects. So these are the topics, contents that we would cover in today's lecture. So starting from the first one, that is the fundamentals of array. So you might have learned this in your previous course, but this is a review of the arrays. In arrays, we do what? In computer languages, we need to group together data items of the same type. So say, for example, integers, so integer A, integer B, integer C, integer D, integer E. So rather than declaring them separately, we do what? We make a group of the integer items, and the mechanism to accomplish this is in the form of array. So this can be accomplished in the C++. Using array, we can group them together, just give them one name and then call them by index. We can do this thing using the arrays. So we will first see how at the arrays of basic data types. In this chapter, as I said, that we would cover the fundamentals from this portion. So in fundamentals, we would see arrays of basic data types, and then we would see how we can make the arrays used as data members in the classes, and then we would see how we can make an array of objects. So in a way, these contents help us not only understand arrays, but this would increase your understanding of the object-oriented programming, because you can see from here, this is what object classes and objects. So they are the basics of the object-oriented programming, and we would see how we can apply the concept of arrays in these. So it will help you increase your understanding of the object-oriented programming. So having said a lot of things, let's see how we can make an array. So in this example, this shows how we can create an array of 4 integers and representing the ages of 4 people. So we are going to group together 4 people ages in the form of an array. So this example will help you how we can make an array of integers. In this example, further, the user is asked to enter 4 values which it places in the array, and then lastly all the 4 values are displayed. So let's see how it's done. So having written these things, these are the things that covered already. So now starting from this one, the main function, you can see from here, if you want to declare an array, then you need a few things. Number one, you need to mention the data type of array. For example, you want to group multiple items, so what is the data type of these multiple items? So first you have to write the data type of the array, of the elements in the array. Then you write the name of the array. So for example, you grouped these different items together. What is the name of these different items of this group? So you call this by certain name. So then the next thing we need to do is to give it a name, and then inside this parenthesis you write how many items have been grouped together. So 4 items, so we say there are 4 items in this array. So you have to write the data type, the name, and the number of elements of the array. So this is how you can initialize array. Having written this, this would do what? This would make a space in memory, and there would be 4 places reserved for this data type, for this array, and this would be called as age. So this first place, this would be of integer type, which means there would be 4 bytes of memory for the first element. Then we would have 4 bytes for the second element, 4 bytes for the third element, 4 bytes for the fourth element. So the name of this is age, and there are 4 elements. Then how we can, for example, if this is the integer, how we can address this place? So it can be addressed, since the name of this one is age, and this is the first element, so we can call this by age and then write the index. So in C++, the first element of the array is indexed as 0. So we can say this is the 0th location. So age 0 would mean this location. Now obviously, as you know, that since this is an array, all of these have got the name age. You can just refer to the different locations by the index. So the second location, this would be indexed as 1. So the name of this array is age. Age 1 would mean this location. So now you can tell me that what would be the name of this place. So obviously you can continue this way. Age 0, this is 0th location. This is 1 location. This is location 2, location 3. If we have other elements, you can just continue this way. So this location would be called as age 0. This would be age 1. This would be age 2. This would be age 3. And if we have other elements, you can just continue this way. So having written this integer, so all these would be of type integer. So which means there would be a 4 byte 32 bits location reserved in the memory for each of the element. And how many elements do we have? 4. So 4 such elements would be created in the memory, and the name of these would be age. So if you want to call the first element, so this is age 0. For the second element, this is age 1. For the third element, this is age 2, and so on. Now if you want to write some number in this first place, so how we do it? If it's a regular normal variable, we say, for example, if the name of this is a, so we say a is assigned the value 2. So 2 would be stored in this location. Okay. So now if you want to say store 2 in this location, now the name of this is age 0. So all we need to do is to do what? Age 0 would be equal to 2. Now this is simply just like we say, if we give it a name a, you say a is assigned the value 2. Now the name of this location is age 0. So you say age 0 is equal to 2. So what would this statement perform? This statement would do what? The number 2 would be saved in this first location. If you want to save another number in this location, so we say, since the name of this one is age 1, so age 1 would be assigned, for example, we say assign this the number 3. So age 1 would be equal to 3. So 3 would be stored in this location. And likewise, you can address any location similarly. If you want to read this number from this location, you say what is the number stored in this one. For example, you want to print this thing, so all you need to do is do what? If it is, for example, if it were called as a, so you would write word cout a. This would show you the value of the location. If, for example, we call this location is a, you want to see what is stored in a, so you would say cout a. So similarly, now we are since calling this as age 1. If you want to print this number, so how you do it? Simply call the name of this location. So cout age 1. This would simply print out whatever the number is saved in this location. So if you want to retrieve the number, you write this thing. If you want to load some number into this place, you just write this way. So and if you want to declare an array, you can declare this way. So in this case, let's see, an array of the 4 elements is made. Then a few numbers are saved. The user is asked to enter the age of the first user, second place, third place, fourth place, and then all these 4 places are accessed as well. So in this next few lines of code, what is being done over here? A loop is developed, which performs what? Which would run for 4 times. You can see from it, integer j equals to 0, since j is less than 4. So do this thing. So it would be done once, then j would be incremented by 1, so j would become equal to 1. So for j equals to 0, this loop would run, then j would become equal to 1, j would become equal to 1 by this statement. Since j is still less than 4, so this loop would run, and after this one, j would become equal to, when it runs, then after this one again the j would be incremented by 1, so this is 2 times j would become equal to 2, and again since 2 is less than 4, this would run the 3rd time, and then j would be incremented by 1. So once this is incremented, this would become equal to 3, and 3 would become paired with j. Since again this is less than 4, 3 is less than 4, so this would this code would run, and when j is incremented again, so j would become equal to 4. Since 4 is not less than 4, so the loop would stop here. So this means that the loop would run 4 times. First, for j equals to 0, less than 4, it would run. Then j is incremented, j would become equal to 1. Again this is less than 4, the loop would be executed. So 2 times. Now again j is incremented by 1, it would become equal to 2. Less than 4, it would be executed. So 3rd time executed, then the j would be incremented again by 1, j would become equal to 3. This is less than 4, again the loop would be executed, so 4 times. The next time j is equal to 4, which is not less than 4, so the loop would be stopped. So the loop would execute 4 times. Each time, the first time j equals to 0, for the second time j1, the next time j2, and next time j3. Now see what happens inside the body of the function. So the first time when we enter the loop body, so first it is printed that cout and age, this would be printed, and then the user is asked to enter a number simply. So we wait for the user to enter a number. So first it would be printed enter an age, and then it would wait for the user to enter a number. When the user enters the number, it would be saved in age j. And what is j? Since the first time j is equal to 0, so the first location, the first number would be saved in the first location, age 0. Age 0 means this location. So if you enter a number, so it would be saved in age 0. Age 0 means this location. So for example, if the user enters 44, so 44 would be saved in this location. Then as you can see that the loop ends over the body of the function, body of the loop ends over here. Then again the loop would be repeated. The next time again it would print what? Enter an age. But the next time, since j is equal to 1, and since the user is asked to enter the number, and it would be saved in age 1, and age 1 simply means the next location. So whatever the user enters, it would be saved in the next location. So for example, if the user enters 16, it would be saved in the next location. Then the loop repeats the next time, and j would be equal to 2 for the next time. Again it would be printed enter an age, and then the user will enter a number which would be saved in age 2, because j is 2. So and age 2 simply means this location. So whatever the user enters would be saved in this location. For example, if the user enters 23, so it would be saved in the age 2 location. Then the next time when the loop executes, so j would become equal to 3. Since j is less than 3, so the loop would execute. What is asked, what is being done in the first line? So it states that enter an age, so it would be printed, and then the user would be asked to enter a number, and that would be saved in age j. Since j is 3, so it would be saved in age 3. Age 3 is this location. So if the user enters 68, it would be saved in h3, which is this location. And the next time, since j is 4, so 4 is not less than 4, so this would not execute. So these 4 numbers would be saved in these locations, which is h0, 1, 2, 3. In this loop, what happens over here, for the first time j is assigned the value 0. Since j is already initialized over here, so we don't need to make another integer j. So j is assigned the value 0, and the same thing happens again. J is less than 4, so the first time the j is equal to 0, which is less than 4, so this loop would execute. And what is inside the body of the function? The first thing is printed. You entered, this would be printed, and then age j. Since the j is equal to 0, so age 0 would be printed. So the first time it would print what you entered 44. You entered 44. This would be printed. You can see from here, you entered 44, because age 0 means 44. Now the next time when it comes over here, j would become equal to 1. 1 is less than 4, so this would execute. But now the value of j is 1. So you can see from here, inside this loop, what is first printed? You entered. This would be printed. Since the value of j is 1, so age 1 is printed. And what is age 1? Age 1 equals to 16. So 16 would be printed over here. Then the new line, and when we come here, j would become equal to 2. 2 is less than 4, so the loop would execute, and it would be printed. You entered. First this would be printed, and then since the value of j is 2, so age 2 would be printed, and age 2 we have got what? 23. So 23 would be printed. The new line, and then again j would become equal to 3. Age 3 is less than 4, so the loop would execute. What is inside the loop? So you entered. First this would be printed, and age 3, because the value of j is 3, so age 3 would be printed. What is inside age 3? Age 3 has got 68, so 68 would be printed. The new line, the next time the j would become equals to 4, not less than 4. That would be the end of this loop, and then the function would end here. So this would be the output of the code that is mentioned above. So this is the basics of the array, how you can declare an array. So you can declare an array just by this way. You can specify the size of the array, you can give the name of the array, and this is the data type of the array. And then they would simply mean the locations in the memory, adjacent locations in the memory. You can just call them by the index of that location. Okay. So you can see from here in this figure, it is also mentioned that we have got what we have the data type. This is the data type. This is the name of the array. This is the size of the array, and then the bracket limits the array, and then we have got this thing. So this is how you can define an array. Okay. And since the memory grows downward, this is the convention. So we can say that the first location, if we say age 4, so as I mentioned, so we have got a 4 bytes of memory location for reserved for age 0, then another 4 bytes for age 1, another 4 bytes for age 2, another 4 bytes for age 3, and if you want to save some number in this location, you say age 0 is equal to 44, or you can say cin age 0. So whatever the user enter, the number would be saved in age 0. Since this is called as age 1, so you can say cin age 1, or you can say age 1 equals to 16. If you want to print this, so simply say cout age 1. This would print the number stored in this location, and likewise you can do for the remaining items. Okay, so these different headings, they have been already covered. How you can access the array elements. So you can read some number into array by writing cin. You can print the number. You can read the number by writing cout age j. In this example, the numbers stored in the array elements, they are averaged. So it is pretty simple. First, an array is in this function. This is just a practice example. All the topics covered, contents covered would be again repeated here, so there is nothing new. Just the function performed in this function is to average the just to add all the elements of the array and then divide by the number of the elements, which would be equal to what? Which would be equal to the average number stored in the array. So what is being done over here, you can see from here, first we have got what? The size of the array is defined over here, constant integer, so it won't change, and this is equal to what? 6. So the size of the array is declared as equal to 6. And then what happens, we declare an array over here, it's of type double. The name of the array is sales, and the size is equal to what? So this is 6, so this would be replaced by 6. So array of 6 variables would be declared, and each would be of type double. So 6 elements array is declared in this example. So we got 1 2 3 4 4 and then 5 and 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. All of these have got what? The name sales. So the first location would be what? Sales 0. Okay. By writing this statement, we are actually making an array of 6 elements. The first location would be called as sales 0. The next location would be similarly sales 1. The next location would be called as sales 2, and so on, sales 3 4 5. Okay, so from 0 to 5, 6 elements. If you want to write some number in this location, you say words. For example, if you want the user to enter some number in this location, you just write cin and sales 0. So whatever the user enter, it would be saved in this first location. Cin sales 1 would save the number in this location, and so on. If you want to see what is saved in this location, if you want to read the number, all you have to do is to just write cout sales 0. You can put them in an expression. For example, you say a multiply by b multiply by sales 0. So you can put this in expression. So in this example, first the array of 6 elements is defined of type double. Then what would happen if the next line executes? So it would do what? Enter widget sales for 6 days. This would be printed, and then a loop would execute. You can see from here, this loop would run for how many times? J equals to 0, and the next time j would become equal to 1, j is less than size. So size, the number stored in size is 6. So first time j equals to 0, the loop would execute because 0 is less than 6. The next time j would become equal to 1. 1 is less than 6, so the loop would execute. Then once it's executed, then the next time j would become equal to 2. 2 is less than 6, 3 is less than 6, 4 is less than 6, 5 is less than 6. Then after the 6th time, the j would become equal to what? 6. And since 6 is not less than 6, so the loop would not execute. So for these values of j, the loop would execute. And what is being done in the body of the loop? You can see from here, it asks the user to enter a number. So cin sales 0 for the first time. So whatever the user enter, it would be saved in this location of 0 index. The next time when the loop executes, so the j would be equal to 1. So when the user enters a number, it would be saved in sales 1. So whatever the user enters, it would be saved in sales 1. Then the next time sales 2, sales 3, sales 4, sales 5. When j becomes equal to 6, since the loop does not execute, so it would not ask the user to enter another number, and we would come to the next line. Now the total is equal to 0. First this variable is declared, and inside this loop again you can see this loop would execute 6 times, and every time it will do what? Say a total variable, another variable is declared over here. Okay, so another variable is declared in the memory, and what is being done? First the value of this becomes equal to 0. Then what happens? 0 is added with this number first. So 0, for example, if it is equal to what? 1. So 0 plus 1 would become equal to 1, and that 1 would be added in this number, in this location. So this would become equal to what? This would become equal to 1. Then the next time this 1 is added with the number stored in this location. So 1 plus the number, say for example if we say there is 3 over here, so if we add this plus this means that we are adding 1 plus 3. Then the next time, and the result is stored in this variable, so this would become equal to 4. And if we say if there is 4 saved over here, the next time this 4 is added with the number saved in this location. So all if we do all these in a loop, so actually we are doing what? We are actually adding the numbers saved in this location. So let me just repeat this thing to make it a bit more clear. So if we want to add, say there is 1, there is 3, there is 4, there is say 5, there is 2, and say there is number 6 saved in these locations. If you want to add these numbers, so how you can do this thing? So add this plus this. Okay, say first 0. So 0 plus 1, whatever is the result, save this in a temporary variable. So it is equal to what? 1. So 0 plus 1, then if we want to add plus 3, so we can say that whatever the result of 0 plus 1, if we add 3 with it, so it would be what? The result of 0 plus 1 plus 3. Since the result of 0 and 1 is what? 1, it is saved in a temporary variable. Then if we add 3 with it, so this would be just like we are adding 0, 1 and 3. So if we add 3 with it, so this would become equal to 4. And 4 is then, so the result of first 3 variables, we do what? We save this in a temporary variable which we call as, which can just give it total number, the name total. So it would become equal to 4. So if you want to add 0 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4, we can do this what? First add 0, 1, 3, save it in a temporary variable, and then the result, this one, is added with this one. So this would be just like you are adding 0, 1, 3 and 4. So if you add 4 with it, the result would be 8, become equal to 8, and then save the 8 in a temporary variable. Then if you want to add the 5 with it, okay, so this would be just like what? Since 8 is equal to what? The sum of 0, 1, 3 and 4. If you add 5 with it, so you are adding 0, 1, 3, 4, 5. So 8 plus 5 would become equal to 13, and just continue this way. So at the end we would have what? The sum of all these numbers saved in the temporary variable. So this is being done over here. A loop is created. First the temporary variable is assigned the value 0, and then the first number is added with 0 and it is saved in the temporary variable. Then the first location, so the first index, it is added with 0 with the temporary variable in the loop. So this number is added with this one, the result is saved back in this one. You can see from here the next line, total equals to total plus sales 0. So if this is 0, so 0 plus sales 0, it would be saved back in this total. Then the next time the number saved in this location would be added with this one, and the result would be saved back in this one. In the next loop, the number saved in this location would be added with the result saved in this one, and the final sum would be saved in this one, and this would continue all the way up to the 6th element. So we would have the sum of these, all these variables saved in this. At the end of the loop we would have the sum of all these numbers saved in this loop, in this variable. And if we say this plus this plus this plus this plus this, if we divide this by the total number of elements, it will be equal to the average. So we know that the size of this array is 6. So if we add the total sum divided by the size, so this would be simply equal to what? The average. And we can lastly we can print that the average of the array is equal to what? Average. Since this is saved in the average variable, we can just print the number, and this would give us the average. So this is the sample interaction with the user. So for say the first time the user entered this number, second time the user entered this number, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they are saved in the array. So what is the average? Simply add them up, divide by 6. This would be equal to what? The average. In the next topic, what is being done over here, we call this as the initializing array. So as soon as you declare an array, you can initialize at the same time. So for example, we say integer days per month is the name of an array. It has got 12 elements. What are the values of those 12 elements? So at the time of declaration, you can say that the first element is equal to 31, the second element is 28, 31, 20, 30, 31, 30, 31, 31, 30, 31, 30, and 31. So these are the elements of the array. So there are 12 elements: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So at the time of definition, you can initialize those different locations to these different numbers. So previously we said, say integer sales 6. So what happened? 6 location array was declared. Then the user was asked to enter the first number, the second number, third, fourth, fifth. So we defined an array and then we asked the user to provide numbers. In this case, we are doing what? We are initializing an array of 12 elements, and at the time of definition, we are saying what? The first element, the value stored in the first element is 31. The value stored in the second element is 28. The next element is 31. The next element is 30, and so on. So at the time of definition, we are actually giving numbers, and this is called as initializing an array. So you can give values to each array element when actually the array is first defined. At the time of definition, you can give values to each array element, and if you want to do this, this is the syntax for this one. You just write the numbers in the parentheses and separate these different numbers by comma. So this would be the number stored in the first location, this would be the number stored in the second location, the number stored in the third location, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And then you just put this parenthesis and semicolon. So this would be how you can define an array. It has got 12 elements, and these 12 elements are these numbers. You can just go through this program to see what is being done over here, but the point that I wanted to prove, I wanted to explain, is that you can initialize the elements of array this way. Since you can see from here, if you wrote this numbers, 12 numbers, so this thing become unnecessary. You can see 12 elements, and the 12 elements are equal to this thing. So since this is now unnecessary, so you can even initialize without just writing the numbers over here. The compiler would itself see how many elements there are. There are 12 elements, so it would just assign, it would make a 12 elements array space in the memory, and the first element would be equal to this one. So you can just skip this number. You can initialize this without this number. So you can say something like this: days per month, and then you just don't write anything. You just say the first location is 31, the second location is 28, the next location we have got 31. So the compiler would itself see there are 12 elements, so it would make an array of 12 elements, and the first element would be 31, the second would be 28, 31, 30, 31, 30, and so on. You can see from here, since there are 12 elements, so there would be 12 locations reserved in the memory. These numbers would be stored in that location, and the name of this array would be simply equal to word days per month. So the first location would be word days per month index 0, the next location would be days per month index 2, and so on. So we don't need to use the array size. And if, for example, if we say that say A is the name of the array, and we say A3, okay, and A3, there are 3 elements in the array, but we just write say 1, and that's it. So you can see from here, we have said what the name of the array is A. It is of type integer. There are 3 elements in the array, 1, 2, 3. You can see from here 3 elements in the array, but we have said what the first element got the value 1. The first element should be equal to 1. Then we haven't mentioned, if we don't mention the next elements, what would happen? They would be by default set equal to 0. Okay, so if we have too few initializers, there are too few initializers, and the missing elements would be set to 0. So if we say integer A3, the name of the array is A, there are 3 elements, and we say equals to what? We want to initialize, but we initialize a few of them. We say just write 1. So this would simply mean equal to what? The value of A0 is 1. The value of A0 is 1. But we have not defined A1 and A2. Okay. So if we don't define, then by default the value of these missing elements would be assigned the value of 0. And if we say say A3, and then we write say 1, 2, 3, 4. So since we are actually assigning more than the size of the array, so then there would be an error generated. Okay. The multidimensional arrays would be discussed in the next part, because I think the lecture is becoming too big and then it would be difficult to save and upload. So let's discuss this in the part 2.